Okay, hello, this is Patty Joe, and I am going to tell you a little story. I was going to make myself bigger, but that's just scary. So, I'm going to tell you this story about when I was picked to be on the jury. And the reason why this is different for me is because for years, I worked for the fire department. I really didn't think I would ever be picked to be on a jury. First of all, um, it was, gosh, I guess it was a little after COVID was a thing because I don't recall that we were made to wear masks indoors at that point. Um, Maybe it was a little before. I can't remember, but I don't remember wearing masks. So it was either right before or right after. And I just didn't think that I would, because of what I do and the fact that I've been in court and the fact that I've had, different experiences with that I would be like the first pick. Plus, I'm first responder. So generally, they would sometimes they dismiss first responders based on need for first responders. Anyway, so I am picked to be on the jury, and I we go on, and it's very much like this. It was much smaller. It wasn't that nobody was hurt in my head, thank goodness. And this is the way it goes. And you have to know a little bit of the backstory. And I am going to show you a map, but I'm not going to show you it too much or dwell on it too much because I don't want anybody like going and trying. All of these, it was a long enough ago, and you'll see from the map that the Google Maps that I have access to, it's no longer, the terrain is no longer what it used to be, which means all of these people have moved on and the business wasn't involved that was next door, but it's pivotal. So let's just lay out a little terrain here. And like I said, this is way after the fact, so this is much different than it looked back then, but I will point out a couple things. This particular, where it says highway, is a large road that runs all the way through the county. This goes all the way, and then above it, above the county, at the county line, it crosses over and it goes all the way through the city of Baltimore. So that is the situation here. This is not a small street. As you can see, there's a huge median. There's lots, and parts of this road, they have another frontage road on both sides. So it's a big road here. This is a business. It happens to be, I guess, a funeral home. And this lot used to belong to a lady, and the lady is important. Behind this is an alley. All of these have alleys that you see all over the place. And there's a residence here that I'm not going to show anything with the streets or anything like that. So there's not a lot of reference. Used to live here was a person, and they had a boat. So that's the situation. Now we can see this is now a parking lot. So her lot no longer has a house on it. So years ago, let's go back, let's go off of there. Years ago, when that lot had a house and it was right next to the funeral home, which was apparently much smaller, um, the house used to be the post office. So she buys this little house. Now she is, I'm going to call her older because she's actually older than me. So she is in her 70s, and I would say we'll call it mid 70s. I think it was somewhere in the 74 to 77 range. So she is not a young lady, she is an older lady, and she had bought herself a house, and then I'm going to give you kind of like a 15-year sub history of it. So she buys this little house at some point 15 years prior to the incident, and she's fixing up her little house. It used to be the little post office, and now it's a little house, and she's trying to fix it up, and it burns to the ground. Now, this hurts my heart because when a house burns to the ground, I've seen people be able to rebuild with the insurance money and all kinds of things, but I've also seen where people cannot rebuild, even with the insurance money, and they go off and the lot is then left. And that is actually what happened to her. She decided, I don't know if she got an insurance settlement. I'm assuming there was something. It for her was not enough to rebuild her home. She then moves in with family, and the lot, she cleans the lot, and the lot is then left for for up to 10 years, I don't know, at least 8 to 10 years without a structure. And we all know what happens to those. Now, she still owns the lot. It is still an asset to her. She probably pays taxes on it, and has to insure it and things like that, even though it is still just an empty lot to her. And as an older person, you are on a fixed income. So this is probably why she didn't rebuild a house. So again, doubly, from working from the fire department perspective, I'm hurt by this. People who lose their entire home in a fire, not being able to rebuild the structure, but you have to think about all the things they lose when they do that. It's gone. It's gone. So I already don't, I feel bad. I don't, she would have to do a lot to really get me upset with her. But so now there's an empty lot, a business, and then the alley, and then the houses behind. And in one of the houses behind, and I'm not sure, I pointed out that lot, I'm not sure if it was that house or another one, but it was one of the houses behind that situation. They had a boat and a trailer. And this boat and this trailer would show up on her lot occasionally, or more than occasionally, I don't know. But there was some testimony that she tried to put a fence up to prevent it, that she talked to the neighbors about not putting their boat with the trailer on her land. Eventually, she did talk to them recently up to the incident that I'm going to talk about, where she said, "Don't do this. I'm getting ready to sell this. This is all that, basically that's, I'm thinking this is one of all the things that she's had of any substance to sell. And she wants to be able to get money out of it. And the last thing you want to do is sell somebody land that the neighbors are putting their junk on, because that's kind of a hard sell. I don't know. So, you've got this. So she once again, after she tells them again, "I'm getting ready to sell. I don't want your stuff on here. I need it off." The 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 victim, we'll call him the victim, and I use that loosely because he was pretty entitled. So you can tell I already have sympathy for her. I like her too. So he gets on the stand and he said, "I've never put my boat there. I don't know what she's talking about. The funeral home lets me park it there. I've parked it there and it's never been a problem." All these other things. Okay. And then they show pictures of his boat, the trailer, parked smack, like way over the property line onto her land. She said she's tried to put that orange webbing kind of fence situation, and that was taken down. She's done all these things to try to prevent. She talked to him. She did all these things. Finally, the day comes. She finds the trailer and the boat, like, on her land again. And this is where it kind of goes not her way. But I'm just going to tell you, I already don't like him. He's entitled. He lies. He reminds me of one of my exes. Just narcissist. Even his wife was shaking her head during his testimony. So we get to what she did, and she's testifying, and she really can't refute some of this stuff because it was on video. So they show a video, and mom, low key, she's my hero, because she takes a pickup truck, and backs it onto her property and attaches it to her hitch and pulls it into that alley and drives away by herself. I didn't see any other people helping her. So low key, you are my hero, because at your age, you did it. Now, apparently, according to her testimony, what had happened that day is she came, she saw it was on her land again. She calls the police, so she's doing the right thing. She calls the police. The police come, And they say, well, this is a civil matter. You can't just, this, I understand this is not a trespass, it's not a person, so we can't really do anything about it. You're going to have to, if you want it off, you could have it removed into a secured lot. That's very important. And then you can sue him in civil court or in small claims for the cost of what it cost you to have it towed, and he would have to pay to get it out of the storage. Or you can sue him for that money if she had to pay. But basically, the officer testified that he told her that to have it removed, you know, to remove it lawfully and safely so that it's insured. So a tow truck would be insured and bonded in case something happened to the boat and things. And we're not talking about like a small item or, a stove or garbage or something. We're talking about a boat and a trailer. So she doesn't want to pay. She knows this neighbor's not going to give her her money back. So she backs her truck up and pulls off. Now that's all we see on the video. So then the question is from the prosecution, where did you put it? And she said, well, I drove it into the city and I just parked it. I don't know where I left it. I don't know the city that well. And I'm thinking, okay, this is where my BS flag starts flapping in the wind. Because if she has had that lot for over 15 years and lived on it for 5 before her home burned down, she was less than 5 miles away from the city line. It's a straight shot to the city line. So she gets it onto that highway, drives it straight into the city, less than 5 miles. She could park it anywhere. Now in Baltimore, I was afraid to park my car there. I'm still afraid to park my car there. You could end up with outdoors or a hood in overnight. Overnight. Many fire department personnel have had their cars stolen or broken into. It's not really good. I mean, I've driven past cars piece by piece. These things get taken apart or they're just gone. So if you leave a boat and a trailer someplace and it sits for more than 24 hours, it's fair game. That thing's gone. So and that's not uncommon knowledge. That's common knowledge. I could ask any neighbor, and I guarantee they would agree with me. They would not park their car there willingly. In fact, I'm thinking about getting a job, and one of the things I said was I don't have to go downtown anymore. And they're like, "Oh, okay, great. You can even ride your motorcycle now," because I would never ride my motorcycle and park it outside the firehouse. So I know I suspect, I surmise she knows where she put it. But this is the problem. When it was explained to the jury that there were two things she was being charged with, one of which is that she should have known that she should not have moved that off of her land. And I think she was told that straight out to have a tow truck come and get it. So I was kind of on the side that, yeah, she was sort of guilty of that. And then the other one was the theft. And then the theft, whether it was a felony or misdemeanor, was the amount of the theft. And theft, as it was defined to us, was did she deprive the owner of the goods, their goods, knowing that he would not get it back? And that's where I really put my foot down with the jury, in my opinion, and said, if she was there or had ties to that lot for 15 years and lived there for 5 years, in the time period that she lived there, she knew Baltimore was not a place to park a car, let alone a boat, and think that the guy was going to get it back. And then when she said she didn't know where she parked it, well, then how was he supposed to get it back? It's, that's not how these work. It doesn't have a GPS on it. And then there was a matter of how much it was worth. And I was like, well, even to replace it used, a trailer would cost upwards of something. And it was a usable trailer. She used it. And the boat was in the water the day before she took it off the lot. And so there it was, a buoyant boat. So she was, yeah, sorry. Low key, you're my hero. But where you went wrong is you put it someplace and didn't give it back to him. Okay. Um, Personally, she probably could have not even hooked her truck up to it and just pushed it right out onto that main road and said, "Oh, I bet you're kicking yourself for not putting chocks on it," or something like that. But yeah, that's just me. Um, I don't know what I would have done in her situation. I understand she didn't want to pay and she didn't think she was going to get her money back, but you can't take goods away from somebody, even if they're, you know, a crappy neighbor. So that was the story. And as far as I was concerned, like I said in the other videos, the Daryl Brooks videos, the prosecutor was obviously not as experienced as the public defender. The public defender was much more experienced. And when they went up and they did their sidebar thing where they talked without the microphones, you could tell that they were trying to really be fair about things. And in the jury, we tried to be fair. I think that some people would have nullified for her. I don't think that, even though we could have, I don't think that's right. Even though he was a bad neighbor and he didn't do the right thing by parking his boat there, kind of took his chances. Um, he she could have had it secured in a lot, and then he would have had to pay for it, and that would have been a consequence. But taking it away for good was probably not the consequence that he probably deserved. So there you go. There's my story. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. If you think I was too hard, sometimes I think so too. But or if I was fair. So whatever you think, that's it. That's the story. Like and share and subscribe. Back to Daryl Brooks. Bye.